I didn't really care for the first Resistance game, it just seemed bland and boring. But Resistance 2, oh, I hated Resistance 2. The yawnerific storyline and absolutely terrible graphics made it a chore to play, and I got my trade on with it about 5 days after buying it, so I wasn't expecting much from Resistance 3 except for more disappointment. But I'm happy to say I have yet again been proved wrong. Resistance 3 is leagues above Resistance 2 in every way. Graphically, the whole game is infinitely more detailed and stylish. It's still drowned in brown, but the last-gen graphics of Resistance 2 have been replaced by true next-gen visuals. In this final instalment of the Resistance trilogy, the Chimera have overrun the Earth, and what remains of humankind is now scattered and scared, living underground as refugees, which is where we find the game's hero Joe Capelli and his beloved wife and son. Fans of the franchise may remember Joe from Resistance 2, who, thanks to his antics at the end of that game, has been dishonourably discharged from the army and is now fighting for the survival of his family and friends rather than for the survival of the world. The large 20-chapter campaign is a bit of a slow burner. It starts off very run-of-the-mill, and it wasn't until about halfway through that I started getting gripped by the story and really got into the game. The first few missions see you performing small hit-and-run attacks on the Chimeran forces with groups of fellow Resistance members, but after a surprise visit from an old friend, Joe is forced to leave them and his family behind and journey to New York to figure out why the Chimera are building huge towers there and to inevitably try to destroy them and bring peace back to planet Earth. On your journey, the many levels you encounter all have different styles and tones. Some are really dark, claustrophobic and nightmarish. One features a slow, spooky ride through a flooded town on an old boat, and then of course there are huge open-air battles rife with snipers and flying enemy robots. Although the levels look great, you will often lose your bearings and become confused as to where your next goal location is, thanks to the dodgy mission markers. They're not ever present and only really appear once you've done about 5 frustrated laps of the playing area as you try to find the exit door. It's like the game is egging you on. It's saying, "Hey, find the door! Come on, find the door! Come on, you can do it! Come on! Come on! Oh, for fuck's sake, it's bloody well over there, you idiot!" Well, screw you, game. Just show us where to go from the start. It's simpler that way, and it's less likely to piss me off.
Let's get back to town.
Blowing the faces off the Chimera has never been easier thanks to the huge arsenal of guns available to Joe during his adventure. The weapons include old favourites like the Bullseye and Auger, while a few new ones pop up once the game gets going, such as the Mutator, which fires big balls of Chimera spooge at your target, causing them to painfully mutate and swell up into explosive wobbly man blobs. Ooh, not a good way to go. As in previous games, each gun has a secondary fire feature. With a quick press of the R2 button, the Auger drops a shield, the Bullseye will fire a projectile that causes your bullets to lock onto the target so you can fire around corners or from behind cover, while my favourite weapon, the Atomizer, launches an electric orb which sucks enemies into it, much like the Black Hole gun in Red Faction Armageddon. The more you use each weapon, the more they grow in strength, ranking up and gaining upgrades automatically as you reach certain amounts of kills. So something like the Rossmore shotgun will start off like any other normal shotty, but at full strength it will fire incendiary ammo and toast those aliens alive. This huge arsenal is a massive plus, and the fact that you can carry all 12 weapons is a pleasant change from the modern day convention of only holding 2 and having to chop and change. Plus, having access to all these weapons at once is totally essential due to the huge number of Chimera throwing themselves at you over the course of the campaign. They range from the tiny acid-spitting leapers and the 24 days later zombie-like Grims through to the huge building-destroying Widowmakers, and each one will show you no mercy. The constant onslaught can at times be overwhelming, but it sure does create some edge-of-your-seat moments. It's not just the ability to carry more than 2 weapons, which is a flashback to the older days of FPS gaming though. Old Joe is too much of a double-hard bastard to have a recharging health bar. He makes do with glowing green medikits which are dotted around the levels and more often than not found on the bodies of dead Chimeran soldiers. It again makes the struggle seem a lot more desperate, knowing that cowering behind a wall will no longer keep you safe and that you have to risk it all by heading into the darkness just in case there is a health kit there will make the game much more intense for you. So the single player campaign is solid, but sadly multiplayer just doesn't feel quite right. I can't put my finger on it. It feels like there is a constant lag on kills and it doesn't really transcend above anything other than an average multiplayer experience. Even with the many maps and unlockable perks and gadgets, I doubt severely that it will hold a huge audience, especially once the next Call of Duty rears its ugly head in a month or so's time. Resistance 3 is totally one of the best shooters available on the PS3 at the moment, and it's helped banish my bad memories of the second game. By introducing us to Joe's family at the beginning and knowing how much they mean to him gives you an emotional connection to the proceedings. You feel like you're fighting for something important, rather than just facing off against wave after wave of identical bad guys just because they're there. The deep atmosphere and overhauled graphics help you forget that at times the game is a bit buggy, and in general, if you like your FPS games to have a survival horror edge to them, I would totally recommend you give Resistance 3 a go. Just don't play 1 and 2, because they're shit. Sorry.